A relative clause is a group of words that makes sense and has both a verb and a subject. Clauses that cannot stand alone as a simple sentence are called dependent or subordinate clause. So now, if you see here, the doctor whom I saw twice last year. So which is the relative clause? This one. Okay. Let's put it in pink color. This is relative pronoun. Okay. And the clause is this is the clause. Can you do it for the second sentence? So that is the relative pronoun, and relative clause will be
that he bought for his camera.
yes. Okay. So why we are calling it a relative clause? Because it is what it is doing. It is connecting the other clause. You cannot have it independent. It is dependent or it is related to the other clause, right? So they act as adjectives. Why they act as an adjective? Why they act as an adjective? Because if you see, this is, where is the clause? This is the clause. This whole is the clause. Now tell me, it is telling about what or whom? It is telling about the doctor, and the doctor is a naming word. Now anything which describes a naming word is what?
Adjective.
Adjective. So that is why we are calling this relative clause as an adjective. And in this adjective, we have a relative pronoun. And which is that relative pronoun? Whom. So that whenever you have a relative pronoun, the clause becomes relative clause. And this clause is an adjective because this whole clause is talking about, telling about the weightlifter. That means naming word. So here also it is talking about it. This whole clause is talking about the castle, right?
No.
Yes. Whose birthday is in September? This whole clause, relative clause, is telling us something about a naming word. Let's color it in black. Naming words are black. Okay. So relative clauses acts as adjective and they describe about the naming word, and they are relative. They are called relative clause because they are related to the other clause. Some related relative clauses start with where, when, why. If it is where, when, why, then will it be an adjective or adverb? Tell me. If it is telling you about the place, okay, or if it is telling you about the time or about the consequence of the action which has happened, then will it be an adjective or an adverb? Like here, the day on which. So on which is telling about the action. And tell me which part of speech talks about the action?
Adverb.
Adverb. So here you will see when you have on which, in which, for which, at which. So here it is not telling you about the naming word, but it is telling about the action, that when or where or why it is happening, then it behaves as an adverb and not an adjective. The ancient city in which the treasure was found. So the action took place where? So that's an adverb. Okay. For which? The reason for which octopuses have 8 tentacles. So what question comes here? Where, when, or why?
Why?
Why? The museum at which we saw the foreign coins. What question is there? What answer
Where?
is there? Where? The year in which she won the heptathlon.
When?
Time, when. Okay. So then they are adverbs. Okay. So a relative clause relative clauses are sentences we use to give extra information which can be relevant or which can be just an additional information. Okay. So who, which, that, where, when, whose, these are relative clause. Now let's look at this. We saw the woman who owns a blue bicycle in the park. Is it a very important information or is it just an extra information?
Extra.
Is it an extra information or an essential information? We are talking about only the woman who owns a blue bicycle. We are not talking about any other woman. So is this information not important?
Specific.
Yes. So in that case, we call it as defining clause, which is giving us an essential information. Okay. But in case, like, if I take this sentence, my dad especially likes roses. So that makes a complete sense. But then I have added who loves gardening. Even if I don't put this, the sentence is fine. It is meaningful. So that in this case, it is an extra information, and that is why we are calling it as non-defining clause. Okay. So these are the examples of defining clause, because the information which is given is very important. Like they have caught the ferocious lion. Now, which lion they have caught? The one which escaped from the zoo is a very important, essential information. Okay, in that case, we call it as a defining clause. But if something extra is given, just an additional information, then we call it as non-defining clause. Okay, is it clear?